Hi, today I want to discuss this watch. This watch is the Orient Altair. It's a watch that came out in 2019, but I recently found out about it. I bought this one, just the one with the blue hands and the more or less pearlescent white dial, the blue one, and I bought the silver one with the yellow hands and hour markers, or the yellow gold hands and hour markers. Today it can get a little bit shaky because I'm holding the camera by hand, so please bear with me, but that's easier for me to show the details because the differences with these watches amongst each other is in the details, I would say. First, I start off with the darkest one. The darkest one I have is the blue dialed version. And here you see it, and you immediately see one of the gripes I have with it. The hour hands and the markers don't really pop that much if you have a lot of light. So now it's sunny. If I hold it up, it gets a little bit better, but in too much light, it's underwhelming, I would say. It really is a nice watch, but you really need to have a little bit less light, like this, and then it pops. But you don't have the blue dial that much. So it actually is a nice watch, but it's more a watch for gray skies, I would say, with enough light to let the sunburst come out and not so much light, so that you can see the nice hour hands after the hour hand and the minute hand and the hour markers. Another gripe I have with this watch is that if you have a look at the sunburst and the concentric circles of the, can we get it? Camera. There you have it. If you have the sunburst of the concentric circles, it looks all right, but it's a bit grainy, and it's a bit grainy because the lines in the circles are a little bit ridged. So they're not as fine as they could have been. And that gives a little bit of a dull kind of sunburst effect. Now, since the dial is also very dark, it's quite hard to make those subdial sunburst pop. Otherwise, I really like the color, I really like the color scheme, I really like the silver on the blue, but it's not always as apparent as you would like it to be. Third gripe I have with this watch is the second hand. The second hand is actually quite cheap looking. If you have the second hand, it's just a flat piece of metal strip. And it is almost like it was meant to be lacquered later on. But I just didn't bother it to do it. The hour hand and the minute hand are really nicely shaped, but the second hand is just flat. So, keep that in mind as we address the next watch, which is the white one. This watch has a little bit of a pearlescent sheen to it. You might see it. There's a little bit of pink, but there's also a little bit of green in the watch in less lighty conditions. You see that with this one, the second hand has been lacquered, and it looks fantastic. It gets a bit more rounded edges because of it. The minute hand and the hour hand are also lacquered in this opaque blue lacquer. As you might also see, is that the concentric circles in the subdials are done very cleanly with this one. And you get a nice sunburst effect if you rotate it around the sun. If you take this watch in low light conditions, the dial gets a little bit more of a green sheen to it. So it gets a little bit of a colder look. And in the sun, it gets a little bit more warmth. So that's quite nice, actually, I think. Now, what I don't like the lacquer on the hour markers on this watch. The lacquer on the hands is opaque blue, and I think it looks terrific. But what I chose for the hour markers is a clear blue, translucent, so you will see the metal shining underneath, and it doesn't really come together that well, those differences. They also did quite a lousy job in lacquering those hour markers, especially around the edges. Look at the 11 o'clock hour marker, there you see this light shining through, because at the edge there's spots where the lacquer has chipped off or is failing. And it's not only with that marker, it's also at the 6 o'clock position. You might also already have noticed it. Oh, please focus. Yeah, there you have it. And on many other spots as well. So it's a bit of a downer for me. It's such a nice looking watch, and the dial is really great. I would say that the hands of this watch are really nice as well, but then the hour markers start acting up. So that was the white one. The silver one is also very nice. It's the sunburst in the silver one is very plain, I would say. It's just your run-of-the-mill silver sunburst dials. The gold on the hands is very nice and crisp. The hour markers are also very crisp, and it really comes together quite well, I would say. It has quite an elegant appearance, this watch. Whereas the other one, the white one, is more sporty. Now, what I don't like about this watch, here we see the sunburst in the subdials, because this one also has very clean concentric circles, so it really works well. This one, though, has the same problem with the second hand. This is just a strip of sheet metal of some sort, and it's kind of flat if you compare it to the hour markers and the hands of this watch. But that actually is the only gripe I have. Now I found out something different, which might be interesting. So if we look at the backs of these watches, then you see that the blue one is a bit dull, especially when you compare it to the high sheen, the high polished silver of the watch itself. It's not silver, of course, but it's really reflective. The steel is. This one has the same thing. It's also quite dull. But here, this is on another level. It's almost like this Caseback has much more quality, at least in appearance, than the Caseback of the other watches. So there is a variety in that as well. From a price point, I bought these watches for well under, no, not well under. The white one and the silver one I bought for about 100 euros, and the blue one I bought for 84 euros. So these are quite affordable, I would say, especially when you compare them to the Seiko 5s that recently got up in price quite sharp. This is the SNKL 29, and this is the SNXS 79. These have become much more expensive of late. So as a price contender, yeah, they really hold up. These were the things I wanted to convey, and I wish you a very nice day. Bye.